Greetings, Pilgrims. Welcome to another episode of the Polygon Pilgrimage, and this week I have something very special for you. We are starting a pretty long project together, but don't worry, this is something that we can do in between some of the other more complicated projects, and I'm very excited about this. I saw this concept art on the Facebook Messenger groups for the various art forums, and this concept art that you're looking at right now is by an artist named Paul Jourad, and he will have full credit in everything that we do. And I've been working with Paul, and he has given his kind permission for us to build this ship together. Now, one of the reasons I'm so excited about this is just this is one of the coolest spaceship designs I've seen in a while, and I'm just really excited about the shape and the fact that Paul has provided us multiple angles of the ship. He's provided us some context as to its purpose and even deck plans. So we actually have like blueprints for it, and that's amazing. And to top it all off, he jokingly called the ship the Pilgrim because this is a ship that is a colonization ship. So it goes off into the cosmos, finds a new place to live, gets settled, it has people on board, it has supplies, it can start to build a colony. Pardon me. So I'm very excited about that. I think that's perfect, especially for our pilgrimage. Why not build the Pilgrim together, okay? So I'm working with Paul and with my dad and some ideas of a story behind this and all this, but I wanted to build it with you guys together. And as an added bonus, I've gotten a lot of requests from people who say, we love your tutorials, but you've already kind of figured things out ahead of time, and even though you show us how it works, we kind of want to see all the trials and tribulations, all the little steps. So that's what this series is going to be. This is going to be sprinkled in between some of the other stuff we're doing, but this will be absolutely every step. So I've only done one step ahead of you guys, and that's lining up the deck plans, but I'm going to show you how I did that, and I'm going to talk about some of the changes I've already made in order to make this kind of work. But everything else, including setting up today, we're going to get kind of a rough block in. I haven't done any of the work ahead of time, so you're going to see all of the mistakes, all the triumphs, everything. We're going to do it together, okay? And I can think of no better pilgrimage together than to build the Pilgrim. So without any further ado, I'm using here, this is Quadro, which is an image program, and I can zoom and scale my reference imaging. So this is our angled view and our side view, and I have our deck plans. So before we start to build this thing, let's make sure that all of our reference is lined up. So these two references are good to go. You know, these are just as is. This gives us a scale reference to the world, and this gives us a very important scale reference to, I believe it's spacebar. No, is it Alt? Yes, there it is. This gives us a good reference as to how big is a person compared to the ship. As you can see, it's not a massive ship, okay? And one other thing I forgot to mention, the purpose of this project is to eventually have, probably in both, but I'm going to start with Unity. In both Unity and Unreal, I want to get everything imported and get a first-person character controller walking around. And the idea is that it'll be kind of like a museum piece. We'll be able to walk around in and out of the ship. So that's really cool. So these two references are good to go, but we need to line up our deck plans. Because let me show you the original source imagery. So we'll bring this up. If I go File, Open. Paul provided us with this image. Where's it at? Deck plan. Okay, so this image is awesome, but it does have the background and it has them all laid out, but we needed to kind of line them all up together. So the way that I did this was I made copies of this layer. So in Photoshop, I believe it's Control-J, makes a duplicate layer. I'm going to select with my marquee and just kind of cut this out and say copy, and then say new. And this will automatically set up the size for the size that I've cut out. So I'm going to say that, paste, there we go. And then I just went through and chose here, and I'm just going to select the background and delete the background. Okay, so I did that for each one, and I cut them all out as separate layers. And with your tools, you may not be using Photoshop. That might be different. That's okay. But so once we have it like this, let's do a select. Let's do an image. Select, inverse. And now when I copy, if I go to any image, you'll see I can go here and let's get rid of this selection. And I paste, I now have just the actual floor plan, not any of the background stuff, okay? And that allows me to do this. I can line it up over things. Perfect. Okay, so that's all this guy is. So if you look at this, if I hide all of these, it starts with deck 1. This is the captain's chair right here I'm pointing at, right there. And this is, the helmsman, and this is the bridge. Now if I add deck 2 is underneath that, and you can see I can hide and remove, and we can have an overview of how they line up with each other and then how they are individually. So deck 2, and then here's deck 3. All right, looking good. And then here's deck 4. All right. Now a couple things you may have noticed. One thing is it's not perfectly symmetrical across here. There's a little bit of a gap here, so we do need to kind of straighten that. So we can go ahead and do that together here. So let's do that. So if I bring this line to the center, that's the center. But what I need to do is select every single layer here, because what I want to do is move these so that they line up kind of more evenly. Something like that. There we go. So now if I unhide these other layers, you'll see that they've still maintained their alignment. Perfect. Okay. And you also may notice, depending upon the resolution, this says Deck 3 Mod, because this is Deck 3 Mod, and this is Deck 3. And besides it moving back and forth, you may notice a slight change is with my mod, I've actually removed the center elevator, and that's because due to the drawings, and this is not a fault of Paul's, this is a fault of any drawing to 3D kind of thing, we need absolute precision, and you don't always get that with drawing. And the elevators don't quite line up. So what I did was I said, okay, we know that it's basically right there in the center. And you can see if I go to Deck 1 and I lower this opacity and let's zoom in, you'll see that they're almost identical. If I unhide that, they're almost in exactly the same place, but they're just a little bit off. So what I did was I said, okay, for all the other decks, let's just remove them and we'll just take that top one and we'll just use that all the way down, okay? And things are going to get bumped and pushed and moved around just a little bit. You know, this is not exact. These are not AutoCAD, drawings. This is a reference drawing for us. So we're going to take it and with a little bit of grain of salt, we'll make our cool ship. All right, so I did the same thing with Deck 4. Deck 4 is a mod as well, just to get rid of that, the elevator in the center, because we know where it's going to be, we know what we're going to use. Now I did notice here there's a little bit of an excess piece here we need to get rid of, so let's handle that together. So we'll just get rid of that. So we'll say delete, and then I'll add up there and delete. There we go. All right, so now we should be all set. So we have all 4 decks, and they line up together. Oh, we got a couple more that are showing some excess. There we go. It's because we moved them over, because the original image was so large that I move it over, and then you'll see it reappears. There we go. We're all set now. We got all 4 of these. And you'll notice if I go back to my Quadro, you'll see this image is essentially all of that put together. Perfect. Okay. Now I've also saved out. We're not going to load them up today because we're not doing any interior stuff today. We're just getting scale, reference, and all that handled today. But I do have one image saved of each individual deck. That way we can load it inside of Maya, and then we can have our reference for each layer, and we can hide and show whatever we need. All right. So speaking of Maya, now that we have all of this done and our reference is complete, let's go ahead and fire up Maya, which I've already got open, but this is a brand new scene. I've done nothing to it. So first thing we need to do, we need to decide what is our scale going to be that we're building in. Now, things like Unity work best with meters. Things with Unreal, you can do meters, centimeters, the whole conversion thing. But as long as we're true to a certain measurement and we keep true to that, it should convert no problem. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to work in feet and inches inside of Maya here. So to do that, we need to go up to Windows, Settings and Preferences, and then here where it says the word Settings, I know it looks like a title to a section, but it's actually some very important settings. So I click it properly, there we go. My working units. Linear, it says centimeter. I don't want that. I want inch. There we go. So I'm working in inches, okay? So this means that for our smaller things like the trim on door frames and that sort of thing, we can do inches. And for larger things like how big is a person? Well, 6 feet is 72 inches, okay? So that should line up. I can put it foot, I can put it yard. Nobody really works in yards. But we can do feet for now if we want because we're doing such a big area. But I tend to just do my conversion from inches, to be honest. So there we go. Inches, hit save. So now we're working in inches, which means if I hit cube and it makes a cube, this cube should now be 1 inch by 1 inch by 1 inch as far as the size of it goes. See this scale 111, all right? And let's confirm preferences, settings, inch. There we go. Okay, very cool. So we don't need that cube, but let's go to our side view and we need to import our reference image so we can make sure how big is this ship, right? So we're gonna go to view, all the way down here, image plane, import image. And I'm gonna select my project, so it's under my D drive, projects, and this is called the Pilgrim. And I want the side of the ship like this. There we go, import. Now, if I just were to work from this, everything would be tiny and it'd be way off. If you look at the scale over here, my size is set to like 39 by 1 by 0.9. It's ridiculous. As an example, if I hit my cube, this is 1 inch. So right now this whole ship is smaller than an inch. Yeah, no, that's not going to work for us. So let's move that over. Let's select this. And we need to scale this up quite a bit. So I think what I did in here was I set it to a scale of 200. So 200 by 200 by 200 size. So now, if I move my cube around, let's take our cube and let's make it still too big. Look at that. So we need to make this way bigger. So first, let's make our cube the right size. So for our cube, I'm going to do 32 by 72 by 32. So this is roughly the size of a human being, okay? So if that's true inside of Maya, then we just scale this to match, all right? So let's try some numbers in here. Let's try 500. We'll do roughly twice that size. Still too small. I'll just manually scale it out a bit. And now we can move this around. I don't really want to move it too much, but I'd rather move the cube. So if we move the cube closer to this guy. So this is a perfect guy to use because he's standing there. Now it looks like I went a little overboard. I would want him to be contained within this box. So I go to this and let's scale it down just a little bit. So something like maybe that. Here we go. We'll take a look. That's looking better. This guy is still a little tall. If this cube is going to be 6 feet, that's a pretty tall person. So I don't want everybody to be, 6 foot something. So we'll scale it down just a little bit more. There we go. And let's check that out. That's pretty good. There you go. So Joe Schmo here, he's about 5'8", 5'9", right there. So that'll work out for us. So that tells you how big the ship is going to be in total. So now using my axes lines here, you see here, I'm going to move this so that it's roughly centered. I mean, this whole ship is not quite even on either side, so that's fine. We'll do something like that. Okay, very cool. Now, let's also move this up so that the very bottom of where all of this stuff comes onto the ground in this image is at the ground of our XY here. So let's do like something like that. There we go. So now with our person right here, person on the ground, see, about that size, so put him right on the ground. Bloop. And maybe we need to move this up just a smidge. Just a smidge because he's standing on something that's on the ground. So something like that. There we go. Now we can start to actually block out the ship. So if we go back to our 3D view here, pull it way out. Oh, too far. So we need to change our camera. No worries. So if we go up here and say View, select Camera, and we're going to go into our options for our camera. So Attributes for the camera. And I want to change my near clipping to 1 and change my far clipping to something crazy like 1 and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 zeros. Hit Enter. Now that means that I can zoom way out and I can see the full extent of everything. So I can see my cube here that is my person, and now I can start to make a cube that is the size of my ship. Alright, so let's go back to our side view, and let's make a plane. I'm just going to make a plane, there we go, and let's change its settings. Only 1 on each of those, and then make it huge. Let's make it absolutely huge. It's still too small. Make it really big. And it might be behind this. So if I go to my top view, let's see, where's my plane at compared to everything else? Moving forward in front of the ship. Ah, he's downwards, he's flat. So he is, where are you at, plane? There you go. See, he's tiny still. He's so tiny he looks like a point. So let's scale him way up. There we go. All right. So now we can move this around and we'll just get a general feel for the size and shape of this thing. So if I push it into the wall a little bit here, I can then move it up. And now we can start doing some editing. So I'm going to hit 1, which is, I've changed my shortcut keys, by the way. So 1, 2, 3, 4 for me do vertices, edges, faces. So it might be different than yours, but I'm going to move these edges out to the end. And you'll notice that this is at a slight angle, so it's not perfect. So right now we're just getting a general feel for it. In the future, we'll be using the actual reference to get the right size. So that's how wide it's going to be like that, okay? So let's pull up our reference here. And we have a reference and we'll see how big the sides are. We're going to have to add another reference to our sheet. We'll have to add the top one just to get the overall shape of it, okay? So for now, this is good. And what I'm going to do is take these 2 lines, or these 2 points, and move them in the positive X on this side. And then these 2, I'm going to move to the 0x. That means that we're going to be able to mirror this ship eventually. All right? So this is going to be our top side there. And I'm going to look here. I got 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe 5 edges I'm going to need. So I'll just cut those while I'm here. So I'm going to select both of those edges, go to my modeling toolkit and say I need a connection and I need 4 connection points because I want 5 total. So 1 there, boom, this guy goes up here, this guy goes there, that guy goes there. And say done. Now I can move them while I'm at it if I want to give myself a bit of a head start. So we'll move this guy down here. This guy's going to be for this bevel. And then these two are going to do this top part. So right about there. And this will change. Don't worry about being super precise right now. Alright, so I'm going to take these two and I'll move them up. See, about that. Looks good. And move this guy about up that. There we go. And then this guy roughly like that. And you can see we're starting to get that curve of the ship now. So now let's do our top viewport image so we can come down on it. So let's go to the top. There we go. Zoom out a little bit. And what is this guy? This is our person. So we gotta go way out. Something like that. There we go. View, image plane, import image. If I go to my project folder again, and Pilgrim, there we go. So we want the biggest deck at first. That's going to be deck 3. Okay? So I'm going to import that. And I can't see it yet because it's probably very, very small. So we have to scale this way up as well. There we go. All right. Now I don't have a person reference in this right now, but if I scale this up, and let's move it around a little bit at first, and we'll bring it back. I'm going to try to use some of these chairs as a reference. There we go, here's some chairs. So try to make it just so that if a person fits in that chair comfortably, that's about the size of a person. And that looks pretty good to me. So now we're going to work on lining it up with the reference image. Try to get it roughly like we did before, kind of about half the ship, top and bottom, something like that. And then move it back and forth a little bit, like that. Okay, pretty good. Let's take a look and see here. Now here's where we can change things, okay? So obviously they're not quite lining up, but we can take this and we can start to make some adjustments. So now if I scale this in, I say, okay, well, the back of the ship has to be there, something like that. The front of the ship has to be here. Let's do that. Something like that. There we go. That's lining up a lot better. Then we go to the top and let's adjust it so that now from the top, we adjust it so that this side looks equal to that. So I'm going to scale in until, yeah, that's lining up pretty nicely. And we can take those same measurements and apply them to all the other inputs that we put in, so all the next floors can have the same shape. There we go. Okay, we're getting there. We're getting there. So now, let's take this guy and we need to look at some of our other reference. I'm going to pull this reference up. I'm going to put it off screen for myself for now, so you won't be able to see it right now, but just follow me here. We'll figure it out together. So let's take some vertices, and from the top viewport here, I need to move these in place. And I can't even see them. And that's because this plane is probably too far up. All right. Why can I not see those points on this screen? That is very odd. Okay, it's not going to let me see that. All right, we'll do it the hard way. So these points need to move over, but then at the same time, this point is going to start to curve because of the shape of the ship, right? So then this point is going to come over like this. This guy's going to come over as well, but you notice that it kind of takes a downward slope. So let's take a look here. Downward slope a little bit, all right? So we need to have this top shape in place. So I'm working on this top shape right now. So for that top shape, he's going to be mostly that, a little bit more like that. There we go. Okay. So we're getting there. We're getting there very quickly. And this back part is actually pretty simple. He's very, very short. So I just take this and move him into place. And we can also turn on our see-through so we can see through this. I believe if we turn to that, yeah, there we go. So you can see through it and get ourselves a better base. Kind of like that. There we go. Let's move these into place. All right, so now we need some other geometry cuts in here. So I'm going to cut one in here. We need to change this to 1. There we go, just 1. And then Q to accept that. And this is going to give us some more points to work with here. Now, I'm going to bring back my geometry so you can see it here. So because we need to go down the arm of the ship here. So take a look here. Down this way, right? So to do that, it's from here to here, and it just comes straight up. So these points need to move And I'm going to need something like this. And we can go from this point. So I'll select this edge here and do Control E. That's my shortcut. I think it's the default shortcut in Maya to extrude. And we're going to extrude out a little bit. So all the way over here. Say done. Thank you. Vertices, and let's move these vertices into position. So it's doing some kind of weird snapping. I don't want it to. Maybe it's reaching an outer edge. Not quite sure, but I can do it one edge at a time. There we go. Let's take a look at our ship now. Whoop. So these definitely need to come down as well, and they need to be at the same level. So let's figure out what level that is first, and then we can figure that out in a second. Okay. So with that edge selected, I'll move them down until it kind of lines up. There we go. Move out until it kind of lines up. And in just a little bit. Down a little bit more. All right, let's take a look. So I moved the wrong spots there, but why can't I not see certain vertices? Must be on the other side of that. Okay, well, let's move him down this way and see if he comes. No, yeah, he's on the other side. But that doesn't make any sense because I'm looking at it this way. Anyway, it's giving me some trouble here. So let's get these lined up. And I'm kind of eyeballing it now, so let's do this. Down a little bit more. And there we go. That'll be okay. We'll work it out. So I'm going to select this one, and I'm going to get the Y value. Copy that, go to this guy, and paste the Y value. So they should be the same. Let me paste it up here. Holy goodness. Nope, that did not seem to work. Object, yes. 9800, no, it's at 3900. There we go. 3900 and 3900. There we go. So now we know that they're absolutely level. And now when we mirror the ship, we'll be able to see that occur. Okay? Excellent. Now we need to also lower all of this a little bit. I need to lower these three just a little bit. Because we can't have the back of the ship actually be higher than that. There we go. Now we're getting somewhere. Oh, there you go. That's looking nice. And we'll need these little tweaks here and there because obviously it's not going to all line up right away. We're going to have to make some adjustments. Again, we're dealing with two different images, and Maya is fighting us a little bit here that it's not actually showing us some of the things it should be showing us. If I select all my vertices and I go over here and say, show them to me, it's not showing me anything. Oh, you know what? It might be our camera for that as well. Let's take a look. Yep, we got to do it for each one. There we go. That's what we were missing. Okay. There we go, guys. We're figuring it out together. See? You're going to see all the trials and tribulations. So, all of these can line up now. This guy needs to line up, but, oh, it's fighting me again. Something like that. Let's move these along a little bit further. There we go. Just kind of get these to line up for now. We'll come back to it to get it exacting. Okay. Yeah, it seems to be I can only move it so far until it starts to take over. It says, nope, you're going to go this way whether you like it or not. All right, so that's looking a lot better. And these things are going to give us some angles very soon here. Here we go. Now we can line up to that. And we might want to, we're going to have to respect the blueprint nature a lot more than this. So this might have to be scaled to match that instead of the other way around. But that's okay. All right, we got the beginnings of a ship here. Now, I'm going to bring some of these edges down. So again, Control E, and just kind of drag it down this way and say Q, we're done. And this point is going to have to be the same level as this point. So let's figure out where this guy is at. All right, so if I change this to world, does that tell me? No, it does not. 3147, so there we go. 3147, enter. We should go do the same thing here. 3147, enter. There we go. So now they can line up to be the same height as this. So that way they'll all weld together nicely. Now if you notice in our reference here, there's this kind of angle swap. We're going to have to work that out with the exact angle there. But for now I'm going to just approximate that. So it's going to be something like this. And we go to our top view. And you can't go much further out than what the ship is. So these are going to have to come in a little bit. And these guys are going to come in quite a bit. So you go there. And you come here. Now this will be a lot easier to get these angles that we have two sides to this. So this is going to be a corner, no problem. We'll come here, and now we start to get that shape. That's looking a lot better. Oh, yeah, that's good. That's good right there. Okay, so we need to connect these up. So what I'm going to do is do a target weld and connect this guy to this. And then Q, and we're done. There we go. And again, let's take this guy, and we'll do a Control E, and we'll bring him down this way. Q, and we're done. Take this guy, target weld. I'm going to move that over there. There we go. And then this guy, let's go to the top view so we get it right this way. This is our window thing here, which is pretty cool looking. So I'm going to bring that out, and that's going to be that kind of an angle, which means this angle can come more out like this. There we go, something like that. Okay, that's our cool window, and it's not quite right. It looks like in the reference image it's more like this, but in order to get that to work with this, we have to see where that lines up. Okay, that'll work like that. Cool. Okay, that's the cool window, so we're good with that. Now these guys need to come up just a little bit, and I'm going to take Q and E, and there we go. Let's do that. Control E, down just a little bit. Q. Now I think these were at, what did we say they were at? 3474. That's right. So these are going to be the same way. 3474. Okay, now you notice that's too far down, so both of these need to come down. Oh, we'll just put them way down for now. 3474. Boom. Same thing here. 3474. Boom. Okay. Now these two guys are going to come up quite a bit, and they're just going to kind of come out a little bit. But we'll take a look at that here, because those are going to be the most outward edge. And if I grab this edge, we can move this edge as a whole. For some reason it's fighting me again. There we go, something like that. So that angle there, if you look here, is going to be this little piece right at the end. Okay, that's looking pretty good. Now again, we'll make some adjustments, and we'll be doing a lot more with this, but I just wanted to get a quick rough in here to show you guys kind of how this works. And now if I take this guy and this guy, and let's do a bridge. There we go. We got that all settled. Now the back here, there's not a really clear view of the back because it's mostly these fins are kind of in the way. But I'm going to assume that it's something similar to what I'm about to do. So Control E, let's move this down. And what I want to do, here's a neat trick that you can do in Maya. So if I go to vertex, I want to make sure that this vertex is the same height as this. So if I hold V and start clicking and dragging, and I hover over this, that means I want you to move this and line it up along this axis with what this guy is. And now they're perfectly aligned. And I can do the same thing here. And there you go. So now we can take our edges again, and let's bridge these up. There we go. Boom. Now we just have to do the same thing here. So we can do it two ways. This is going to be a triangle, or we can do a cut across here like so. And we just move this guy down, probably something like that. A little bit of a tail to it. Then we can do this, because this is now a quad. 1, 2, 3, and 4 on the bottom. So do bridge. There you go. You don't necessarily need it to be a quad. It is a little bit easier to deal with quads, but ultimately when we put this in game, everything's going to get triangulated anyway. So it doesn't really matter. Don't let anybody tell you that it does. They're wrong, and if they still insist, send them to me. But that's just an old way of thinking that I was taught, and it's not really correct once you get out into the workforce. People will tell you, yeah, no, you need to understand what your triangles are going to do, but they're not dangerous. Okay, so this is all set for now. We're going to do the underside another time, because we do need to kind of keep these a little shorter. But let's do this down here, and let's do this guy down there as well. We can get all of these lined up so that we make sure that they're the exact height. There we go. And then this guy on the bottom. Very cool. Okay, I'm excited for the first, approximation of our ship here. Let's do a couple of things before we go. First of all, let's save it. We haven't saved it yet. That's really bad. So we call this blockout 1. So this is our first day of blocking out, okay? So we got the rough shape of the whole ship in. Now, we need to make a duplicate of this guy, so I can do Control D and move it over. And then if I do scale, I think I can do by x, I think I can do -1 on the x to get, no, I can't do that. Is it absolute? Relative? No, okay, it's not going to work out. I had a system for that, but that's okay. We'll just take a copy of it over here, and we'll do a mirror. There we go. And now if I put it back at 0 on the x, it should, come on. Oh, I was on relatively at 0x. There you go. So now I have 2 copies on top of each other. But not all of it went through properly. All right, let's see here. Let's move you over here. Delete you. Now, all of our vertices along this edge should go to 0 on the x. 0 on the x. Absolutely. Okay. Oh, our pivot was not correct. That's what it was. Pivot is very important too, guys. So if I have my pivot here, I'm going to hit D to move my pivot. And again, we're going to use this trick. Hold V, click and drag, and I'm going to select these vertices on the edge here, right there, because I know that it's at 0. Okay, so now my pivot is at 0. You can see I've selected the whole object, and it says here X is 0. Perfect. So let's make a duplicate again, move it over, flip it. Now if I put it back at 0, they should line up perfectly together, just these two. All right, couple more things we can do is if we select our image planes, and let's go to our attribute editor, is that it? No, channel box, layers. Okay, we want to add a layer. Let's call this reference. Okay, and I'm going to make it whatever color, doesn't matter. Save. So I can turn off the visibility for anything on this layer. So now I can select each of these and say, add to this layer. Where is it? Add selected object. Is that the one? Nope, that's not it. There's a way to do this. Add object. Thought it was here. So if my hover script is not working here, so it's not working out for me. Nope. Okay. Add selected objects. There we go. So now if I hit visible, that should go away. Same thing here. Add selected objects. There we go. So now we can just see our ship, and here's our person. Okay, our person is still okay. He's standing next to the ship. So if you were this big, standing next to this, you can see how big it is. So that seems pretty accurate so far. Let's do one more thing before we go and add a plane. And I'm just going to scale this way up. This is just going to be a ground plane, just so that we have kind of reference for the size of if this thing were parked on the land. How cool would it look? Okay, and it'll serve as a rendering background once we get to that point too. Let's turn off that. We'll mess with our shading later. I think I always have this on the ambient occlusion, just so you can see that he is touching the ground. And then compared to him, this is the size of our ship. So we've done a great job. Look at this. So we're getting there, see? Of course, some of these more specific shapes will come in later, but getting the overall blocked out size of this thing is important. Now we know how big it is. We know how big we want things to be. We've got some references put in there. We can start to build out each layer and each floor. And now each floor will make sense because we know how big our people are. And we're not just building arbitrary sizes of things and then only finding out later that they don't really fit. And that's just kind of a bummer. So excellent, guys. Very happy with our first day progress. And again, you got to see it all live right from the get-go. No preparation, as you saw a couple times there. But we'll work through all the little quirks and kinks together, and we'll make ourselves an awesome ship. We'll make Paul proud and have something, a shining gem that can go out into the universe there. So, as always, guys, thank you so much for joining me this week. If you enjoyed, please leave a like. Please give me a comment. Let me know what you think. Let me know if there's something that you're working on you need help with. I'm always here to help. And until next time, guys, keep practicing, get better, and I'll see you next time as the pilgrimage continues.